The rain hammered against the windshield of my sedan as I pulled into the gravel parking lot of Murphy's Gas and Go, the only light for miles on this desolate stretch of Highway 47. The neon sign flickered erratically, casting an eerie red glow across the puddles forming in the uneven asphalt. It was nearly midnight, and I'd been driving for 6 hours straight, trying to make it to my sister's funeral in time. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was racing to see someone who was already gone. I killed the engine and sat for a moment, listening to the rain drumming on the roof. My phone showed no signal, hadn't for the last 30 miles. The isolation of this place felt complete, almost suffocating. Through the rain-streaked window, I could see the gas station's interior bathed in hard fluorescent light. A lone clerk sat behind bulletproof glass, his head buried in a paperback book. The bell above the door chimed as I entered, bringing with it a gust of cold, wet air. The clerk looked up, a thin man in his 50s with graying hair and tired eyes that had seen too many late-night travelers like myself. "Rough night to be on the road," he said, marking his place in the book with a finger. "Tell me about it." I grabbed a coffee from the machine near the counter, the bitter smell mixing with the scent of rain and motor oil that permeated the place. "How much farther to Millbrook?" "About 40 miles north." "You got family there?" I nodded, not wanting to elaborate. The clerk seemed to understand and returned to his book. I was counting out bills for the coffee when my phone rang. The sound cut through the quiet hum of the gas station like a knife. I glanced at the screen, expecting to see unknown number, or maybe my brother-in-law calling with funeral details. Instead, I saw a name that made my blood freeze: Sarah Mobile. My sister Sarah had been dead for 3 days. My hand trembled as I stared at the phone. The clerk looked up, concerned. "You okay, son?" The phone kept ringing. 4 rings. 5. The name on the screen remained unchanged. Sarah Mobile. This was impossible. I'd been at the hospital when she flatlined. I'd watched them pull the sheet over her face. I'd signed papers. I'd made arrangements with the funeral home. On the 7th ring, against every instinct screaming in my head, I answered. "Hello?" Static filled the line, punctuated by what sounded like distant wind. Then, cutting through the white noise, came a voice I knew better than my own. "Danny? Danny, is that you?" It was Sarah. Her voice was exactly as I remembered. That slight rasp she'd developed from years of smoking, the way she always made my name sound like a question when she was uncertain about something. But there was something else there too, something that made my skin crawl. An echo, as if she were speaking from the bottom of a well. "This isn't real," I whispered into the phone. "Danny, I need you to listen to me. I don't have much time." The clerk was watching me now, his book forgotten. My face must have gone white because he stood up, his chair scraping against the linoleum floor. "Sarah, you're dead. I saw you die." A sound came through the phone that might have been laughter or might have been crying. "I know, Danny. I know I'm dead, but I'm still here somehow, and I need to tell you something important." I looked around the gas station, desperate for anything to anchor me to reality. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Rain continued to batter the windows. The clerk approached the counter, his eyes fixed on me with growing concern. "You need to sit down, son," he asked. I held up a hand to ward him off, pressing the phone tighter against my ear. "Sarah, this isn't possible. This is some kind of... The accident wasn't an accident, Danny." The words hit me like a physical blow. Sarah had died in a car crash on a rainy night much like this one. Black ice, the police had said. She'd lost control on a curve and hit a tree. Tragic, but not uncommon for the mountain roads she'd been traveling. "What do you mean it wasn't an accident?" The static grew louder, and Sarah's voice became more distant, as if she were being pulled away from the phone. "The brakes, Danny. Someone cut the brake lines. I couldn't stop. I couldn't." The line went dead. I stared at the phone, my heart hammering against my ribs. The display showed that the call had lasted 2 minutes and 37 seconds. The number was still listed as Sarah Minor Mobile, the same number I'd called 100 times before, the same one that had been disconnected 3 days ago when the phone company shut off her service. "Mister, you look like you've seen a ghost," the clerk said, and the inadvertent accuracy of his words made me laugh. A short, hysterical bark that sounded foreign even to me. "I need to use your phone," I said. "What's wrong with yours?" "Please, it's an emergency." The clerk studied my face for a moment, then nodded toward an old payphone in the corner. "That thing still works, if you can believe it. Haven't had it serviced in years, but it keeps taking quarters." I fumbled for change, my hands shaking as I dialed 911. The dispatcher answered on the second ring. "911's your emergency. I need to report. I think my sister was murdered." The words sounded insane as they left my mouth. "Sir, can you give me your location?" I looked around frantically. Murphy's Gas and Go on Highway 47. "Look, this is going to sound crazy, but my sister died 3 days ago in a car accident, and she just called me. She said someone cut her brake lines." There was a pause. "Sir, are you saying you received a phone call from a deceased person?" "I know how it sounds, but sir, I'm going to need you to stay calm. Have you been drinking tonight? Are you on any medications? I wanted to scream, I'm not drunk and I'm not crazy. Her number called me, I can show you the call log. What's your sister's name? Sarah Mitchell. She died Monday night on Route 9 near Millbrook. Another pause, longer this time. I could hear typing in the background. Sir, I have a record of that accident. Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell, age 34, single vehicle collision with a tree. The investigating officers found no evidence of foul play. They need to look again. Check the brake lines. Sir, the vehicle was totaled in the accident. It's been processed through the insurance company and sent to scrap. There's nothing left to examine. My heart sank. So you won't investigate? Sir, I can send a patrol car to your location for a welfare check, but I can't open a murder investigation based on a phone call you believe you received from the deceased. I hung up, defeated. The clerk was watching me with a mixture of sympathy and wariness, the way you might watch someone having a mental breakdown in public. Bad news? He asked. I was about to answer when my phone rang again. This time I didn't hesitate. I answered on the first ring. Sarah. Danny. Thank God, I was afraid I'd lost you. Her voice was clearer now, less distorted by static. It was definitely her. I could hear the way she breathed between words, the slight whistle on her S sounds that she'd had since childhood. The police won't listen to me. They said the car's been scrapped. I know, I heard your call. You heard, how? Danny, being dead isn't like going to sleep. It's more like being trapped in static. I can hear everything, radio waves, phone calls, internet signals. It's all jumbled together, but sometimes I can focus on specific conversations. The clerk had moved closer, apparently able to hear only my side of the conversation. His expression had shifted from concern to fear. Sarah, who did this to you? Who cut the brakes? Mark. The name hit me like cold water. Mark Hendricks, Sarah's ex-boyfriend. They'd had a messy breakup 6 months ago, complete with restraining orders and midnight phone calls. Mark had been a mechanic before his drinking cost him his job. He'd know exactly how to sabotage a car. Why? Why would he do this? The insurance money, Danny. I changed my life insurance policy last year. Made you the beneficiary, remember? But Mark, he forged documents, created fake papers naming himself as the beneficiary. He's going to try to collect on my death. I did remember. Sarah had called me about it, said she wanted to make sure I'd be taken care of if anything happened to her. At the time, it had seemed like a morbid topic of conversation. Now it felt like prophecy. How do you know about the forged documents? I told you, I can hear everything now. I heard his phone calls with the lawyer. I heard him practicing what he'd say to the insurance company. Danny, he's planning to kill you too. The words struck me like lightning. What? If you die before the insurance claim is processed, the money goes to next of kin. With both of us gone, he can claim to be a grieving boyfriend who should inherit everything. He's already on his way to the funeral home. He knows your route. I looked out the rain-streaked windows of the gas station, suddenly aware of how isolated and vulnerable I was. Every set of headlights on the distant highway could be him. Sarah, this is insane. Even if he could fool an insurance company. Danny, he's been planning this for months. He knows about the funeral arrangements. He knows you're driving alone. He probably knows you're at this gas station right now. How could he possibly? My blood froze. I'd paid for my coffee with a credit card. Mark had worked at the garage where Sarah got her car serviced. He'd have access to credit card readers, maybe even the ability to track transactions. The clerk must have seen something in my expression because he took a step back. Mister, maybe you should call someone, family or a friend. Sarah, I need to get to the police. I need to... Danny, it's too late for that. Look outside. I turned toward the windows. Through the rain and darkness, I could see headlights turning into the parking lot. A pickup truck, moving slowly, deliberately. It parked next to my sedan, and I could see the silhouette of a man getting out. That's him, Sarah's voice said through the phone. That's Mark. The man approached the gas station door, and I got my first clear look at him through the glass. Mark Hendricks hadn't changed much in the months since I'd last seen him. Still tall and thin, with greasy brown hair and the pale complexion of someone who spent too much time indoors. But there was something different about his eyes, a cold, calculating look that I didn't remember. The bell chimed as he entered, bringing with him the smell of rain and motor oil. He looked around the store casually, as if he were just another late-night traveler, but his gaze lingered on me a moment too long. Evening, he said to the clerk, his voice pleasant and unremarkable. Evening, the clerk replied, glancing nervously between Mark and me. Mark wandered toward the snack aisle, and I realized with horror that he was positioning himself between me and the door. My phone was still pressed to my ear, but I could only hear static now. Sarah, I whispered. Mark's head snapped toward me at the sound of the name. For just a moment, his friendly facade slipped, and I saw something predatory beneath. Sorry, he said, moving closer. Did you say Sarah? I used to know a Sarah. Sweet girl. Shame what happened to her. The clerk looked confused. You two know each other? We've met, Mark said, never taking his eyes off me. Danny, right? Sarah shouted something, but I couldn't make out the words over the sound of blood rushing in my ears. Mark's hidden hand came forward, revealing a large wrench, the kind used for tire changes. He swung it at my head, but I ducked, the metal whistling through the air where my skull had been a second before. "Call the police!" I shouted to the clerk as I scrambled toward the back of the store. The clerk was already reaching for the phone behind the counter, but Mark spun around and brought the wrench down hard on the man's wrist. The clerk screamed and fell backward, clutching his arm. "Nobody's calling anybody," Mark snarled. He turned back to me, his face contorted with rage. "You just couldn't let it alone, could you? Had to come asking questions." "I don't know what you're talking about," I lied, backing toward the restroom. "Sarah told you, didn't she? Somehow that bitch managed to tell you." My phone crackled again, and Sarah's voice came through clearly. "The wrench, Danny. He used that same wrench to loosen the brake fittings on my car." Mark heard it this time. There was no mistaking the voice or his reaction to it. His face went white, then flushed red with fury. "That's impossible," he whispered. "She's dead. I watched her die. You killed her," I accused, no longer caring about pretending ignorance. "She deserved it," Mark shouted, raising the wrench above his head. "Ungrateful bitch dumped me after everything I did for her. I fixed her car, I paid her bills, I loved her, and she threw it all away for what? Independence? Freedom? She got her freedom all right." I dodged another swing of the wrench, crashing into a rack of motor oil. Bottles scattered across the floor, and I slipped on the spilled oil, going down hard on my back. Mark stood over me, wrench raised for the killing blow. "Don't worry, Danny, you'll be with her soon." That's when the lights went out. The fluorescent fixtures died with an electrical snap, plunging the gas station into darkness, broken only by the emergency lighting and the glow from the fuel pumps outside. But there was something else, a strange blue-white radiance that seemed to emanate from my phone. "Mark." Sarah's voice didn't come from the phone this time. It came from everywhere. The walls, the ceiling, the air itself. Mark spun around wildly, the wrench shaking in his grip. "Where are you?" he screamed. "You're dead. I killed you." "Yes," came Sarah's voice from the darkness. "You killed me. Just like you're trying to kill Danny. Just like you planned to kill me from the moment you forged those insurance documents." The temperature in the store began to drop. I could see my breath misting in the sudden cold, and frost began to form on the windows. Mark backed against the counter, his eyes darting around the darkened store. "This isn't real," he muttered. "Dead people don't talk. Dead people don't." A bottle of motor oil exploded against the wall next to his head, spraying him with black fluid. Then another and another. Mark ducked and covered his head as bottles flew through the air with impossible precision. "Stop it," he screamed. "Leave me alone. Like you left me alone when I begged you to let me go." Sarah's voice was everywhere now, bouncing off the walls with increasing intensity. "Like you left me alone when I got the restraining order? Like you left me alone when I changed my locks?" More objects began to move. Cans of soup rolling off shelves, newspapers fluttering through the air like birds, the cash register drawer sliding open and slamming shut repeatedly. Mark cowered against the counter, still clutching the wrench but no longer focused on me. I pulled myself to my feet, slipping on the spilled oil but managing to stay upright. The clerk was conscious but clutching his injured wrist, staring at the chaos around us with wide, terrified eyes. "The keys," I shouted to him over the supernatural cacophony. "Where are the keys to lock him in?" The clerk pointed with his good hand toward a ring of keys hanging behind the counter. I moved toward them, but Mark saw what I was doing and lunged at me again, swinging the wrench wildly. He never reached me. Mark stopped mid-stride, the wrench falling from his suddenly nerveless fingers to clatter on the oil-slicked floor. His eyes rolled back until only the whites showed, and he began to shake as if he were having a seizure. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no, please, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." "You're sorry?" Sarah's voice came from directly behind him now, though I could see nothing there. "You're sorry you got caught, or you're sorry you killed me?" "I'm sorry I killed you," Mark screamed. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry, please don't." His words were cut off as he began to rise into the air, not floating, being lifted, as if invisible hands had grabbed him by the shirt and were pulling him upward. His feet left the ground and he clawed desperately at nothing, trying to find purchase in empty air. "Sarah, stop," I said, though I wasn't sure I meant it. Her voice, when it came, was gentler now. "He needs to confess, Danny. He needs to tell the truth about what he did to me and what he planned to do to you." Mark was suspended 3 feet off the ground, his legs kicking uselessly. "I cut the brake lines," he gasped. "I loosened the fittings so they'd fail on the mountain curves. I wanted the insurance money. I forged the beneficiary documents. I followed Danny here to kill him too. And the police will believe this confession. Why?" I asked. "Because he's going to turn himself in," Sarah replied. "Aren't you, Mark?" Mark nodded frantically. Yes, I'll confess to everything. Just put me down, please." He dropped to the floor with a thud, gasping and shaking. The supernatural phenomena ceased as suddenly as they'd begun. The bottle stopped flying, the temperature returned to normal, and the fluorescent lights flickered back to life. In the sudden quiet, I could hear sirens in the distance. The clerk had somehow managed to trigger a silent alarm during the chaos. Mark didn't try to run. He sat on the oil-stained floor, his head in his hands, sobbing. When the police arrived 5 minutes later, he confessed to everything: the murder, the insurance fraud, the attempt on my life. He kept looking around the gas station, as if expecting Sarah to materialize at any moment. They found the forged documents in his truck, along with a detailed plan for collecting on Sarah's life insurance. They found receipts for the wrench he used to tamper with her car. They found everything they needed to put him away for life. As they led him away in handcuffs, Mark turned to me one last time. "She's still here, isn't she?" he whispered. "I can feel her watching me." I didn't answer, but I knew he was right. Even after the police cars disappeared into the night, even after the ambulance took the injured clerk to the hospital, I could feel Sarah's presence in the air around me. My phone rang one final time. "Thank you, Danny." "Sarah, are you at peace now?" There was a long pause filled with static. When she spoke again, her voice was already fading, becoming distant and ethereal. "I can let go now. Justice is served." "But Danny..." "Yeah? Be careful driving the rest of the way. The roads are still icy, and I won't be able to help you anymore." The line went dead, and this time I knew it was truly final. When I checked my phone, there was no record of any calls from Sarah's number. The call log showed only the conversations with 911 and the gas station's landline. But I knew what I'd experienced was real. The police had Mark's confession, the evidence of his crimes, and a story that would make headlines across the state. Sarah had reached out from beyond death, not just to expose her killer, but to save my life. I finished the drive to Millbrook in silence, arriving just as the sun was rising over the mountains. The funeral would go on as planned, but now it would be a true goodbye, not just a farewell to my sister, but a celebration of her final act of protection. Sarah was buried on a hillside overlooking the valley where we'd grown up. As I stood by her grave afterward, I felt a presence beside me one last time, warm, peaceful, and finally free. "Goodbye, sis," I whispered to the morning air. In response, a single wildflower that hadn't been there moments before swayed gently in the breeze at the base of her headstone, as if nodding farewell. Mark Hendricks was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. He never stopped claiming that Sarah's ghost had forced his confession, but the physical evidence was damning enough that no one much cared about his supernatural explanations. As for me, I never received another call from the dead, but sometimes on quiet nights when the phone lines hum with static, I think I can hear voices in the white noise. Other souls trying to reach across the void, seeking justice, seeking peace, seeking one last chance to protect the people they love. I always listen carefully, just in case someone else needs help from beyond the grave. After all, death might be final, but love, it seems, is forever.